America, the home of Denny's, Frasier from Frasier, and the right to bear arms. How coincidental that this 2-week wrestling spectacular is occurring in the same 2 weeks as AEW's 2-week wrestling spectacular. What a coincidence! And it is only fitting that this celebration of Americana takes place on Canada Day. This is NXT Great American Bash Graded. So we've got cars in the Performance Centre. Looks like a showroom. It's an old car and a new car. I'm not a car enthusiast. You could probably tell me in the comments what models they are. Farty Pyro gets us started, and our first match is a fatal 4-way elimination match to determine the #1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae. First elimination, surprisingly, is Candice LeRae. Despite a good flurry at the beginning, all three team up on her, and Yim wipes her out with a code breaker. See you later, Candice LeRae. Mia Yim has a good showing in the next part of this match. There's a really good bit where she does a leapfrog off Dakota Kai's back into a Hurricane Rana onto Tegan Nox. Follows it up with two beautiful dives to the outside and a code blue on Dakota Kai for a near fall. We see Yim and Nox going back and forth because there's no friends in a fatal 4-way match. Yim hits the soul food onto Tegan Nox, but Nox falls to the outside of the ring, and Dakota Kai takes advantage of this to get the old Cabrada roll up onto Yim for the 1, 2, 3. So we are down to Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai. It's a strike fest to get started. Old enemies relighting old feuds. Kai is very much on the receiving end of a battering from Nox until she kicks Nox off the top rope and hits a chiropractor for a near fall. Nox manages to kick out of that, but she then gets caught into Dakota Kai's submission move after she misses the shiniest wizard. And despite the fact that it's locked in tight, Nox is able to twist the body, try for a pinfall that breaks it up. Shortly after this, she hits a Molly go round off the top, and then the shiniest wizard for the 1, 2, 3. And Tegan Nox is your #1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. Giving this one a B. Half tidy. Good match. Enjoyable. There was a few bits in it where it felt a bit clunky, where it didn't flow very well, but the story of the match I really enjoyed. And you know what? They've been slow building Tegan Nox as a top star in the women's division for a long while now. So I'm intrigued to see her have a match against Io Shirai. I don't know whether it's her time yet to become the women's champion, but I'm enjoying the build. And the question that does rise is, like, Dakota Kai's been calling out Io Shirai for weeks now. Are we just going to forget that? Or is this part of a grand plan? Well, we'll find out together, won't we? Damian Priest is calling out Cameron Grimes. He wants to give him a beating for some of the stuff he's been doing. We'll touch on that again a little bit later on. Sasha Banks is backstage getting ready for her match against Io Shirai. Really pumped to see what Banks and Shirai will do later tonight. But before that, we are back in the ring, and it is Oney Lorcan versus Timothy Thatcher. Oney demanded a match via Twitter with Thatcher, and here it is. And it is a grapple fest. It is close quarters, center of the ring, submission based. Oh God, it's brilliant. This is proper old school style wrestling in the middle of this modern NXT on this nostalgic WCW show. We basically get World of Sport rules match with Lorcan and Thatcher trading offense with grapples and headlocks and takedowns and all this stuff. It starts to pick up pace near the end. Lots of heavy strikes from both parties. Big throwing suplexes from both parties as well. The end comes when Thatcher goes for the sugar hold, but only Lorcan manages to fish hook Timothy Thatcher to stop the move from going down. Thatcher grabs the hand that is fish hooking and turns it into a Fujiwara armbar, and Lorcan taps out. After the tap out, Thatcher just holds on to the move for a little bit longer until the referee pushes him away, and then we get a big toothless smile from Timothy Thatcher having won this match. I'm giving it an A. I love the stuff they're doing with Thatcher because it's so different to other things happening on the show. It's not fast-paced, high-octane wrestling. It's slow, ground and pound style. Timothy Thatcher, when he was coming into to WWE. There was a lot of concerns as to what was going to happen with Thatcher. Like, this has very much been his style on the indies forever. So the fact that he is in WWE doing things his way, I'm just delighted about. And it's a really unique prospect. And him and Lorcan just perfect together. Perfect synergy. I love this. I'm an old boy. I love the wrestling match. Leave me alone. It's an A. We get a cracker of a video filled with malicious tones and graphics and imagery. Karrion Kross and Scarlett seem to be gunning for either Keith Lee or Adam Cole. Maybe this will play into next week. You never know. Then from there, it is the handicap match. Rhea Ripley versus Aliyah and Robert Stone. If Aliyah and Robert Stone win, then Rhea Ripley has to join the Robert Stone brand. Stone is brilliant here. Comes out in boxing attire. He's got his mouthpiece in. He's got his goggles on. He's giving it the old Ali shuffle. He insists on starting the match and he just gets clobbered. This match is basically Rhea Ripley swatting away Aliyah and Robert Stone. There's a couple of occasions where they get one over onto Rhea Ripley. There's a point where we see Robert Stone do a dive outside the ring and Ripley just steps out of the way to avoid it. Shortly after this, Aliyah dives out and pulls Rhea Ripley's head down onto the floor, which was quite a nice spot. We even see, flashback to the old days, there was a spot in the King of the Ring 2001 main event where Jericho had the Walls of Jericho on Steve Austin at the same time that Name Redacted had the crossface on. And they kind of pull that out here, which was quite nice. But despite the best efforts of Stone and Aliyah, this is Ripley. This is Ripley's night to shine. Ripley sends Aliyah into Robert Stone multiple times in this match. She even drops her like electric chair style onto the stones of Robert Stone for a comedy value. After throwing them around for a little longer, Rhea Ripley puts Robert Stone and Aliyah in prism traps at the same time, picks them both up at the same time, and they both tap out at the same time, and that's Ripley's big win. Giving it a B. I enjoyed it. It was a bit of comedy fun. I'm not giving it anything higher than that because I felt like it went on a bit too long. I think this could have been better if it had been shorter. This match ran through one of those camera-in-camera ad breaks that they do. So that might have been the reason why. But either way, this match could have been shorter, should have been shorter, but it was good. Ripley got the win. This is something just to keep Ripley ticking over. I genuinely think that we're building to something with Ripley and maybe Mercedes Martinez, who is on her way in next week. Possibly that. But for this, I enjoyed it. I'm invested in Robert Stone and Aliyah. I'm giving it a B. Roderick Strong faces Dexter Lumis next in NXT's first ever strap match. They do the thing where they have the video building up to this match. And the last shot we see is a close-up of Roderick Strong, fades to black, fades back up, there's Roderick Strong as he's walking out to the ring. I always appreciate them doing this. Sometimes it doesn't quite work, like to match up the video and the live footage, but I always appreciate them doing it. Crowd chants, strap on Roddy, filth, and he jumps Dexter Lumis before he's had the strap applied to him. Lumis fights him back and then straps Roddy up for the match. The major part of this match is Roddy trying to beat up Dexter Lumis, but Lumis just doesn't seem to respond to anything. Like he's just completely stoic majority of this match and just keeps bouncing Roderick Strong around the ring. Big love to Roddy, who is flying all over the place because Dexter Lumis is pulling on the strap and you see Roddy just fly across the ring, fly into the apron. He is bumping like a good one here. They fight towards the cars, and Lumis pops the boot of one of the cars, and Roddy is having none of it. Roddy desperately fighting away from Dexter Lumis at this point, hits him with an Olympic slam on the ramp to finally get a little bit of offense in this match. Doesn't last for long though, because despite his best efforts, Lumis simply won't stay down. Lumis rallies, whipping the life out of Roderick Strong, but then we see Roddy manage to counter the silence, hits a superplex, puts on a Boston Crab with the assist of the strap, but Lumis is able to slither out of the ring to escape the hold. Enter Bobby Fish, who attacks Dexter Lumis, leads to Roddy hitting that big running knee for a near fall. Fish gets into the ring, gets clotheslined by the whip, and then we see him get knocked off the apron by Roderick Strong, who was propelled by Dexter Lumis. Shortly after this, Lumis locks in the silence and gets the victory by submission as he's got the strap wrapped around Roddy's neck for extra leverage on this very powerful finish. Giving this a B+. I really enjoyed it. This is Dexter Lumis' best match to date, in my opinion. One of the better strap matches I've seen. I know on a tiered list recently with Ross, I was very disparaging of the strap match, but this made sense. This was a logical match for these two to have based on their feud. And Lumis looked great in there. Roddy made him look good in there as well. And I was a fan. This was good. It was possibly a bit too long. Maybe I'm just getting too old and I can't watch long matches anymore. Maybe it was a touch too long, which is why I don't want to give it an A. I thought maybe he could have shortened it a touch, but it was still very good. After we get hype for next week's big main event, El Legado del Fantasma make their way out to the ring. They talk about how prestigious Lucha Libre tradition used to be, and they have plans to bring it back to prominence in their own vision. They're interrupted by Drake Maverick, who very much is the Monty Python Black Knight of NXT, as he walks out with his brace on. He takes the brace off, Kurt Angle 2001 style, charges into the ring and just gets hammered by Gonzalez and Wilde. Looks like he's about to get another big shoe in until Breezango come out and make the save, sending them packing. And they warn them that next week it's going to go down. And it is. We find out a little bit later on. We're getting a trios match next week. It's El Legado del Fantasma versus Breezango and Drake Maverick. This whole segment was a B+. I enjoyed Fantasma's, well, the artist formerly known as Phantasma, of course, Santos Escobar. I enjoyed him talking on the mic. I think he's got a great orator ability. Drake is brilliant as the plucky underdog, and should be a fun match next week. 6-man tag. Cameron Grimes is backstage. He's asked about Damian Priest's challenge to him, and Grimes just dismisses it completely and says that he is calling out either Adam Cole or Keith Lee. The winner of the winner-take-all match is going to face Cameron Grimes. He declares himself the #1 contender, and he's going to the moon. Grimes is great. I'm loving the build for Cameron Grimes on NXT. Main event o'clock, it's a non-title match featuring the NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai versus one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Sasha Banks. Enter Banks and Bayley in a top-down car with Sasha Banks' dog, Ryu, wearing a little American bow tie. It's adorable. They win 10 points already. Io Shirai doesn't come out with the dog, but she does come out and have a great match with Sasha Banks, so that's acceptable as well. Shirai starts really strong in this one. Early on, missile dropkick and a dive to the outside sees Shirai in charge. She's going to put Sasha Banks on the top rope for a big move, but then there's Bayley blasting one of the car horns that distracts Shirai and allows Sasha Banks to take control from here. Banks is going all Pete Dunne. She's bending the fingers of Io Shirai at one point, which is a nice little addition to the offense of Sasha Banks. But Shirai isn't done. She fights back with a Frankensteiner that sends Sasha Banks reeling, and a German suplex as well, like an overhead style German suplex. It looks nasty. Like Banks nearly lands on her head from that one, but recovers well because obviously the match continues. Shirai goes for a moonsault, but Banks is there to stop her and puts her in the Tree of Woe. We then got Banks just reading the riot act to Io Shirai, slaps her across the face, and Shirai manages to fight back through this, goes for the moonsault eventually, misses, and then there's Sasha Banks with a top rope Meteora for a very, very close near fall. Shirai goes for another springboard dropkick, but this time Banks catches her while she's standing on the ropes. Big kick to the head, followed by a sunset flip powerbomb to the outside. It looked brutal. Brilliant. Banks misses a frog splash, and we see Shirai lock in the crossface. It looks as if Banks is going to tap out, but then there's Bayley. She throws one of the tag belts towards the referee, which distracts the referee long enough for Bayley to clock Io Shirai. Bayley and the ref are bickering on the one side of the ring, and as that is happening, here comes Asuka from under the ring and blasts green mist into Sasha Banks' face. This is the night done for Sasha Banks. Shirai takes Bayley out with a baseball slide and then takes out Sasha Banks with a move spoon salt for the 1, 2, 3. The night ends with Asuka and Io Shirai celebrating in the ring with their championships, with more farty pyro going off behind them. Giving this an A, top quality main event. I was really excited to see what Sasha Banks and Io Shirai would do together, and I wasn't disappointed. Love the way this continues to build to Sasha Banks and Asuka, but does it in a way where Io Shirai and the NXT women's division isn't damaged. Imagine that. Somebody coming in from the main roster to work with the women's division in NXT and leaving it better than when they arrived. Imagine that happening, Charlotte Flair. Imagine that happening. I know. Overall, NXT Great American Bash for me was an A-. There was some really strong in-ring action this week, and that was the primary focus of stuff this week. And it was a nice smorgasbord of stuff. We had the grappling match with Thatcher and Lorcan. We had a very exciting Fatal 4-Way elimination match. We had a solid main event in there. We had a strap match in there that actually was better than I thought it would be as well. So I'm happy with this. A-. I thought good start to the 2 weeks of the Great American Bash. Next week, there's not much in the books as time of recording. We've got a 6-man tag, a street fight with Candice LeRae and Mia Yim, and then that big main event with our boy Keith and Adam Cole. That's all we have for now. I'm sure they'll add some meat to the bone as the week goes on, but I think it's going to be a fun one next week. I have a hunch it'll be better than this week. Just going to put that out there into the world. Happy Canada Day for yesterday if you are a Canada person, and I will speak to you soon. Love you, bye.